We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph and Meseches Bava Metzia. This is Bava Metzia Daf 107a. On the previous summit, the Mishnah said that according to Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, the tenant farmer is not allowed to plant anything different in the field, even if it does not negatively affect the owner at all. And initially, the Gemara said in the previous summit that the reasoning of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel is that a person cannot change at all from the original terms. And the Gemara now is asking from a Braisa. The Braisa is talking about the tzedakah collection. The money was collected specifically for the meal of Purim, for the Seudas Purim, and here Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Mekel. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel is lenient and says the poor people can use it for whatever they want. Rashi says Mekel, he's lenient. Afal gav de mishani, even though the poor person changes from the original intention of the person who gave the tzedakah, lo savar de makbid inish midi de lo chasba. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds that a person doesn't care if the person's not losing out anyway. He's just giving the tzedakah, so he doesn't care if the poor person changes and uses it for something else. And so therefore that seems to contradict the reason we gave for Rav Shimon ben Gamliel in the Mishnah. And the Gemara continues, Amar Abaya. Abaya says, Time of Rav Shimon Kedemar. The reason of Rav Shimon is actually like the master explained. The master refers to Rabba. That was the Rebbe of Abaya. Rashi says, the Amar Mar, the master said, Rabba bar Nachmeni Rabbe di Abaya. This refers to Rabba bar Nachmeni, who was the Rebbe of Abaya, the Rabba Gidlo Bebeso, because Rabba raised Abaya in his house. So again, it's Kedemar. It's like the master said, like Rabba said. The Amar Mar, because the master said, Rabba said, Hai man denichole de titbor are. If somebody wants his land that it should become fallow, it shouldn't be able to produce properly. Lizra shasa chite v'shasa sari, he should plant it 1 year with wheat and then switch it to barley. Or shasa shasi v'shasa erev, he should plant it one way in this direction, 1 year in this direction, and the next year in the other direction. That's going to cause problems with his field if he's not consistent. And that's the real reason of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Even though the person changed to something else which generally does not weaken the field as much, but still just the fact that you're changing from one thing to another is problematic. But the Gemara continues, V'lo amrin, but this is only true, Ela de lo karav v'tani, if he didn't plow and then plow again. If he completely plows 2 times the field, then already it's okay to switch to something else. Avol karav v'tani, but if he plows it and then repeats that, les lonba, then there is no problem. And Rashi says, Lizra shasa chitin, he should plant 1 year wheat. Hachanami pasak imo chitin, shemahu zara chitin b'shana sha'avar. The point is that over here also, maybe the reason the owner said that you should plant wheat is because maybe the previous year he planted wheat. So even though in general barley does not weaken the land as much as wheat, but if you're going to be changing all the time, it is problematic. That's the actual reason of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The lo karav v'tani, and all of that is true only in a situation where he didn't repeat in terms of the plowing, meaning chorsha la'achar katsira v'shina b'shas hazera, meaning to say he planted after the harvesting and then he changed at the time of the planting. So if that's what he did, that's going to be problematic. But if he plows it over again, then it is not going to be a problem. And the Gemara continues at the 2 dots. The Mishnah said, Tavua lo yizren akitnius, according to the Tan of the Mishnah, if they agreed that they were going to plant grain, so then the tenant farmer is not allowed to plant legumes because that will damage the field. And the Gemara says, Masni le Rav Yehuda l'Ravin, the way Rav Yehuda taught it to Ravin was as follows, Tavua yizra enakitnius, that if they agreed upon grain, it's not a problem to plant legumes. And so the Gemara continues, Amar le said back to him, but we learned in the Mishnah the exact opposite. Tavua lo yizra enakitnius, that by grain you're not allowed to switch from grain to legumes. And the Gemara says, Amar le said back to him, lo kasha, it's not difficult. Halon, one we're talking about for us, meaning to say for us in Bavel, v'halahu, but the Mishnah is talking about for them, meaning to say in Eretz Yisrael. And Rashi explains, Masni la Rav Yehuda l'Ravin b'masnisin tavua yizren akitnius. He taught that if it's grain, then you're allowed to plant the legumes. And the Gemara answered, Halon v'halahu, meaning to say, Masnisin be'eretz Yisrael kai. The Mishnah is talking in Eretz Yisrael, shehi makom harim, that's a place of mountains, v'ikal amechash l'kich shadara. That's why there is a concern that the land will weaken if you switch it to legumes. But anon hashta bebavel kaiminan. But right now we're in Bavel, shi metzulu tavua bebitzei hamayim. There's a lot of water in Bavel, and therefore since the fields are well irrigated, therefore there is no concern that the land will weaken. You can change whatever he wants. He can go from legumes to grain or from grain to legumes. It's not a problem. For Rabbi Shimon, now Rabbi Shimon says, Rabbi Shimon Oser Kedam, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel in the Mishnah, he's going to say that's problematic, as we said above, because any kind of switching can damage the land, according to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Rav Yehuda l'Ravin bar Rav Nachman. Rav Yehuda said to Ravin bar Rav Nachman, Ravin achi, Ravin my brother, hani tachli devekisna, if you have cress plants that are growing among the flax, ein bohen mishum gezel. To take those is not a problem of gezel, it's not a problem of stealing, because essentially those are really just weeds that are damaging the flax, and you're really not harming the owner. On the contrary, you're helping the owner by taking them. But omdos al gvulin, but let's say they're standing on the borders, on the boundaries of the land, so then they're not really affecting the flax, so then yesh bohen mishum gezel, so then there's a problem of taking it. If you take it, that's going to be gezel, it's going to be stealing. V'im hukshu lezera, now let's say they became very hard already, and they just have seeds at this point. Afilo debei kisna nami yesh b'hem mishum gezel. So then to take them, even if it's among the flax, it's a problem of gezel. And the reason for that is my time. And what's the reason? My da'afsid, because at this stage already, whatever loss they caused, that's already finished. That loss is done. And so now at this point in time, since it's no longer harming the flax, it would be gezel to take that cress. And Rashi explains, Tachli de Bekisna Shechlayim Shekorin Krisin. Again, we're talking about cress, Hagdelim, Bein Hapishna, grows among the flax, Ein Behen Misham Gezel. To take that is not stealing. L'chol Habav Yokrin, anyone who takes it can take it. L'fishu Mashbiach Esabaylim, you're actually helping the owners in that case. Shemafsidim Pishton Yosra Al Dameh, because they actually cause a loss to the value of the flax more than they're even worth. They're essentially weeds. V'imomedes Al Gvul, now if they're on the boundary, Ho'aruga Shenom de Mesocha, they're not among the flax, Yesh Behen Misham Gezel, then it is stealing the lo mifsidi, because they're not causing any loss. And hukshul lezer, if they're already hardened with seeds, meaning osan shechlaim, that cress sha'amdu bepishtan yamim rabim, it's been there for a long time already among the flax. Such a nigmar gidulein, it's fully grown. Shuvein akirasan moelis lepishtan. So now uprooting it doesn't even help the flax anymore. Therefore v'yesh ben misham gezel. Therefore it is a problem of gezel. It's a problem of stealing. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Rav Yehuda l'Ravin bar Rav Nachman. Again, Rav Yehuda said to Ravin bar Rav Nachman, Ravin achi, Ravin my brother, Hani dili dilach v'dilach dili, the trees which are on my property, it actually belongs to you, some of them, because all of the roots are on your property, and the other way around as well. Those that are on your property, all of the roots are on my property, and therefore the fruits belong to me. V'nog b'nei mitzra ilan hanota l'kan l'kan, v'hanota l'kan l'kan, and the custom is, the custom of those who live, who are neighbors with one another, is that if you have a tree that's nota lakan, that if the tree, all of the roots are on one side, lakan, it goes to that person. V'hanota lakan lakan, and the roots are on the other side, it goes to the other person. In other words, he's telling him that we always follow the roots. The itmar, because it was stated, a machlokas amoraim on this issue. Ilon ha'omed ala metzah, if you have a tree along the boundary, Amar Rav says, Hanota lakan lakan, v'hanota lakan lakan. If the roots are on this side, it goes to that person. The roots on the other side goes to the other person. U'shmuel Amar Chok, and Shmuel disagrees with Rav, and Shmuel says we divide. And here he's saying that we follow Rav in this situation. We should go according to the roots. And the Gemara continues, Mesechet, we have a question from the following, Braisa, Ilan ha'omed ala metzar yachloku. It says that if you have a tree along the boundary, you divide it. It seems to be like Shmuel, and Tiyufta de Rav, it seems to be a refutation of Rav. And the Gemara says, Tirgam Shmuel aliva de Rav. Shmuel answered on behalf of Rav, B'memali kol ha'metzar kula. We're talking here in the Braisa, where the roots are along the whole boundary. It means the roots are going to both directions. That's why in such a situation, the Braisa says that indeed they do divide the fruits. The Gemara says, if so, if the roots are evenly spread out, so ma'ila meimar, so what's even the chiddush? Why does it need to be said? Of course you divide the fruits in that situation. And the Gemara says, lo no tzricha, it's necessary, the tali tune lechad gisa, that the load, meaning to say the branches and the produce is predominantly all on one side. And so therefore you might have said that goes to that person. Gemara says, vakati ma'ila meimar, but still, why does that need to be said? It's obvious if the roots are spread evenly, it should be divided evenly. The Gemara says, no, because ma'od detema, what might you have said? The yamar le plog hachi, you could say we should divide it along the actual boundary, and therefore I should get the majority of the produce. Kamash Malana comes to teach us the yamar le, that the other person can say back to him, can respond, my chazis to plog hachi, who says you should divide it along the boundary, in which case you're going to get most of the produce. Let's divide the tree in the other direction, in which case we're going to divide it 50-50, and that's indeed what we do in this situation. And Rashi explains, dili, dilach, dili, what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. Yesh bila nosai, there's some of my trees, shapero shalcha, that the fruits actually belong to you. Ovila nosecha, shapero shali, and then some of your trees that the fruits are really mine. Shasadoseinu zu lazu smuchos, because our fields are close to each other. V'amitzarim givoim, and the boundaries are high. Vilanos netuim behem, and there's a bunch of trees planted. Yesh mehen netuim b'shalisha sharshein kafafu v'natu kulan l'soch sadecha. There are some of the trees that they're planted in my property. and the roots, they're all going into your field. V'yonkim mishalchan, they're essentially getting their sustenance from your field. V'yesh b'shalchan, and there are those in yours, shenotin l'soch shali, that the roots are all in my property. V'yonkim me'artzi, they're getting their sustenance from my land. V'nohagu b'nei mitzra nota l'kan notin sharash l'sad hazu aperish halo. The minhag is that wherever the roots are, that's who gets the produce. B'memali kol ha'meitzer, and then the Gemara said that the Bryce is talking where it fills the whole boundary, meaning shenotin sharash l'kan u'l'kan, that the roots go in both directions. And the reason why it's a chiddush is because the tali tune, because the load, it all goes on one side. Masa peirosa v'anofav, the load of the produce of the fruits and of the branches, nota l'tzaro echad, all goes to one side. You might have thought plog hachi that he can say we should divide along the line. Tolata chetzio shetzlecha v'ani chetzio shetzli. Maybe say you take the half on your side, I'll take the half on my side, and then I'm going to get most of the fruits. And the response is, no, plog hachi, you should divide the other way. According to the width of the field, divide the tree. If the field is going east-west, you can divide the tree north-south, and then you will be dividing the fruits evenly. And the Gemara continues, Amarle Rav Yehuda l'Ravin bar Rav Nachman. Rav Yehuda said to Ravin bar Rav Nachman, Ravin achi, Ravin my brother, lo saz ben ara desmicha lamasa. Don't buy land that is near the city. The Amar Rabbi Yavo, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav, because Rabbi Yavo said that Rav Huna said that Rav said, Asr lo la adam sheyamur al sadeh chaveru. It's forbidden for a person to stand by the field of his friend b'shah shomedes b'kamoseh, at the time that the ripe grain is standing and ready to be harvested. The idea is that you're not supposed to look at the field. It's like you're giving the field an ayin hara. And the same idea, if you buy a piece of land near the city, everybody is looking at that field. So he's saying it's problematic because of the ayin hara. But the Gemara continues, Ini, is that really true? Is it really a problem to have land by the city? V'ashkechinu Rabbi Abba l'talmidei de Rav. Rabbi Abba found the students of Rav. Amar Lui said to them, Mai Amar Rav bahani kroi. He said, what does Rav say about the following psukim? The pasuk says, Baruch atah bo'ir, u'baruch atah b'asada, baruch atah b'voecho, baruch atah b'tzeisecha. You'll be blessed in the city, you'll be blessed in the field, you'll be blessed when you come, you'll be blessed when you go. How does Rav explain that pasuk? V'yamru, and they said to him, Hachi Amar Rav. This is how Rav understands the pasuk. This is what Rav says. Baruch atah bo'ir, blessed are you in the city. Sheyehi beischa samach lebeis hakneses. The idea is that your house should be near the Beis HaKnesses, near the synagogue. Baruch atah basada, you should be blessed in the field. Sheyehi nechasecha krovim la'ir. The idea is that your property should be near the city. You see clearly that the field is good if it's near a city. Baruch atah b'voecha, blessed are you when you come. Shelo timsa ishtecha safek nida b'shas b'yascha min haderech. You shouldn't find that your wife is in doubt that she might be a nida at the time that you come home from your travels. And finally, Baruch atah b'tzeisecha, you should be blessed when you go. Sheyehut tzatzoy meyecha kemoscha, means that those that come from you, your descendants should be like you. That's how Rav understood the pasuk. And again, you see clearly that Rav has no problem. On the contrary, it is good that a person's field should be near the city. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar lahu, and then Rabbi Abba said back to the students of Rav that Rabbi Yochanan lo amar hachi, that Rabbi Yochanan doesn't say like this. He interprets the pasuk different. Ela baruch atah bo'ir. Rather, what does it mean baruch atah bo'ir? Sheyehei beis hakisei samach l'shulchanecha, means that the bathroom should be near your table, to near where you eat. Aval beis hakneses lo, but on the contrary, when it comes to the Beis HaKnesses, it's not necessarily good that the synagogue is near your house. And the idea is Rabbi Yochanan l'taimi. Rabbi Yochanan follows his opinion on that matter. Diyamar, because Rabbi Yochanan says schar pesios yesh, that a person gets reward for the steps that he takes. If it's farther away to go to the shul, and he walks to the shul which is farther away, he gets rewarded for that. So therefore, it's not necessarily good that the Beis HaKnesses is near a person's home. And Baruch atah basada, what does it mean Baruch atah basada, that you're blessed in your field? Shehu nechasecha mishulash, and it means that your property, it should be divided into three. Shlish betvu, a third should be grain. Shlish bazesim, a third should be olives. Ushlish bagafanim, and a third should be from the vines. And that's what it means to say that your field is blessed. And Baruch atah b'voecho, Baruch atah b'tzeisecha, it says that you're blessed when you come and you're blessed when you go. What does that mean? That when you leave the world, it should be like when you came to the world. Just like when you came to the world, it was without sin. So too, when you leave the world, it should be without sin. And Rashi explains Krovin La'ir. First of all, Rav said that it's good if a person's field is near the city. That way it won't be difficult to bring in the produce. That's why that is good. Rashi also says Safek Nida, that says that you shouldn't come home and the wife is a suffix nida v'kol shekain vade. Certainly, if she is a certain nida, that's certainly going to be even more problematic. And then Amar lahu Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Yochanan lo Amar hachi. Then Rabbi Abba said to them, Rabbi Yochanan didn't say it that way. He understood as follows. And one of the ideas was that your house, that your beis hakisei should be near your table, samach l'shulchanecha. It should be near your table, kolomar samach lebeischa. Means to say that the beis hakisei should be near your house. That's the idea. Shalot etztarech laharchik basadis. You don't have to go far away into the fields. V'haidenakat shulchanecha. The reason we talk about your table, shatuchal livdok atzmacha lefnei achila uliachar achila. The idea is that you should be able to check yourself, go to the bathroom both before eating and also after eating. And Rashi continues, Aval beis haknesa samach lebeiso, but the shul near the house, Rabbi Yochanan lav mal yusi. Rabbi Yochanan says that's not necessarily a good thing. Rabbi Yochanan l'taimi, because Rabbi Yochanan follows his opinion. Diamar Meseches Sota, he says in Meseches Sota, Sachar psios yesh. There is a reward for the steps that you take, meaning to say when you go a distance to the Beis HaKnesses, you're rewarded from that. And Rashi continues, Diamar, because Rabbi Yochanan said, Lamadnu yiras chet mi besula. We learn yiras chet, fear of sin, from a besula, from a virgin. V'kibul schar me almanan. We learn about getting reward from a widow. Sha'amr lo, because there was a widow that said to Rabbi Yochanan, V'lo schar psios yesh, yesh Beis HaKnesses b'shchunasi, v'ani bol lebeis midrash chol espalel. She said to him, don't I get a reward for the steps I've taken? Let's say there is a synagogue in my neighborhood, but I come to your Beis Medrash to daven. So he learned from her this idea of sachar psios, that a person gets rewarded for the steps that he takes. And finally, Rashi says, Mishulashin, it's good to divide one's produce into thirds. Sheyeshana shaloka begafanim uvezesim vein loka betvua. Some years are bad for the vines and the olives, but not the grains. V'yeshana shaloka bezu v'lo bezu telo plate. Again, same idea. Sometimes it switches around. So if he has a variety of different kinds of produce, he will have an escape, so to speak. He will be able to be successful. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Zayin Amud Beis.